Does philosophy need mathematics and vice versa? They say the three most difficult intellectual disciplines are physics, philosophy, and mathematics, and that is in no particular order. One would assume they say this because of the thought process that goes into getting truths in these disciplines, to comprehend them. They rely on evidence and originate from abstraction. It is the supposed rigor of these disciplines that makes them sound so difficult. But human emotions always enter into any human endeavor. What is philosophy? According to the Collins English Dictionary, they say philosophy is the study of creation of theories about basic things, very basic things, such as the nature of existence, knowledge, and thoughts about how people should live. But though these things are basic, to get into them takes great rigor. So you're answering basic questions, but it is a very difficult process. These basic things must be answered with rigor, It must be tight, the logic used, and there must be no contradiction. This matters if you are to get to a solution. You can't have a contradiction, So, but human emotions get in the way. Mathematics, though it too can be refused because of emotions and human emotions. Take the ABC conjecture. It's a very difficult mathematical problem, to solve. And this Japanese man claims to have solved it, but people outside Japan say it is not solved. So in Japan it's solved, but outside Japan it's solved. Why is that? Human emotions have come into it. You understand? Even though it's pure maths, it should be just based on logic, but human emotions come into things. So take the concept of calculus. Calculus only works because you have to ignore a key thing. You have to say the change in x is 0. You understand? But it's not possible for the change in x to be 0. So we say it approaches 0, but for you to get the formulation, you have to ignore that it approaches 0, and you have to say the change in x is 0. But when you say this dx or this change in x is 0, what are you implying? You are implying that there are many classes of the approach to 0. There are many classes of 0 mathematically. It can't be right for Newton and Leibniz and then wrong for somebody else to think in that way. You can't accept that for Newton, that dx, just take dx as 0, when we know that is not possible. It cannot be 0. But emotions come into things when somebody else uses that same application to explain the categories, that there are different categories of 0, different categories of limits of 0, because emotions have come in the way, So, yes, philosophy and maths, because they're both very rigid, very logical. You have to follow logic. But it is the human emotions that come in the way. Because maths is the study of numbers. And it's primarily, the study of maths is based on proofs, And proofs cannot contradict, Take a simple proof of an even or odd number. This must be logically consistent. So that kind of training of the mind would be an asset to any philosopher. And as you cannot develop a society, your society cannot develop philosophy without that rigor. It would be pupa it's poo-poo, whatever that your philosophy is, if it doesn't have that rigor. You understand? It has to have rigor. That's why philosophy needs maths and maths needs philosophy. Well, maths doesn't need philosophy as much, but philosophy definitely needs the rigor of maths. Otherwise, you'd be just saying poo-poo and you'd be contradicting yourself all the time. Take the reality that everything is information, and all information is in a relationship, and those relationships take energy to maintain. That has nothing to do with emotions. You understand? It came from a rigorous look into physics. Obviously, you need science, statistics, and all that. It's a rigorous look into it, And this applies to humanity too, as well, because everything, you understand, that's rigor. It takes rigor and it takes years to develop. But then human emotions come into it, and then they say, no, you can't do this. It must be this guy because he's a Jew, and Jews are known to have rigor, and let's bring down your interview and put Lee Small in there. Stuff like that, because of human emotions. Humans cannot accept other humans. But the philosophy itself has to be rigid. It's just reality. Emotions say it cannot be seen, to come from somebody like me, a Khumalo. But that's it. It came from a rigorous exercise to get to the heart of the truth that everything is about relationships, and all those relationships need energy to maintain. The maths equivalence of that would be, like equivalence. You have reflexivity, that a thing's related to itself. It must be related to itself, and then it's symmetry. If it's related to something else, that's something else related to it. If that something else is related to something else, then that something else is related to it. You understand? It's solid, real. It's solid. Zero emotions were used to understand that everything is about relationships. True, rigorous philosophy needs maths. Absolutely, yes. You cannot develop a philosophy without that rigor. And you can see the results of it around the world. You can see the results of not having a rigorous mind around the world, how societies are run by people.